अच्छा, so can I go in English or do you prefer Hindi?
मिक्स कर दीजिए, नो प्रॉब्लम, दोनों भी चलेगा
अच्छा,
यार।
ओके। तो यार मेरी कहानी थोड़ी इस तरह है कि I met a friend of yours online. I
हाँ
was debating these atheists. ये वो तो काफी काफी जंगजू किस्म की डिबेट हो गई थी वो। आप trying to keep it really respectful, really formal,
हाँ जी,
मगर when you're debating 15-20 people at once.
थोड़ा
Anyway,
गर्म हो
your
जाता है।
friend, हाँ, मतलब कि थोड़ा सा वो हो जाता है कि शायद उनका भी कसूर नहीं होता, ठीक है, लोग थोड़े इमोशनल हो जाते हैं ऐसे, मैं फिर लोग इमोशनल होते हैं, मैं भी इमोशनल हो जाता हूँ। Anyway, doesn't matter. So your friend saw this debate and he was like, I should come and discuss it with you. I'm always interested in discussing these topics, especially these
हाँ
days. मेरा ख्याल है, मैं तो encourage करता हूँ यार कि when many theists, I personally believe in God. I'll get to that in a second. Many theists they go like, नहीं, atheists को तो बोलना ही नहीं चाहिए वो. I disagree with that. I think बड़ी important debate है.
हाँ
Your
जी,
friend told me, Satya, that you are a rationalist. You don't believe in God, which is fine. I think very important discussion, very important debate, and I want to be a part of it. Yeah.
हाँ जी,
थोड़ी सी concerning भी है, थोड़ा सा जो आजकल की न्यू एथियस्ट मूवमेंट चल रही है, तो a little about me, sir. मैं मुसलमान भी रहा हूँ, मैं मतलब कि अभी भी I do believe in all religions, so by going by that definition I would still classify myself as a Muslim. There were years when I was younger, I read Richard Dawkins, evolution, evolutionary biology, evolutionary psychology, ह्यूमन नेचर, तो मैं कंप्लीट एथियस्ट हो गया। और जब मैं द लास्ट टाइम आई डिबेटेड दीस थिंग्स इट वाज ऑन द अदर साइड, इट वाज ऑन द
ओके।
एथियस्ट साइड, एंड आई वाज कंप्लीटली तंग आ गया था। मैं तंग आ गया था
तो
कि
मतलब
इतना
आप
ज्यादा
एथीस्ट,
हम्म,
मतलब आप एक समय एक एथीस्ट रहे हो, अभी थीइज्म की तरफ वापस आ गए हो?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। सो
ओके,
आई
जर्नी
एम
बताइए।
नाउ, हाँ बिल्कुल। सो उसके बाद जब एथियस्ट में था, एक वो I know there's a human need to believe in God. I acknowledge that. और फिर वो confirmation bias भी आया था. I acknowledge that as well, and I factored that into whatever I believe.
हाँ
So
जी,
एक general unfulfillment थी, तो मैं इधर थोड़ी spirituality की side पे गया था मैं। तो Hindu spirituality, you'll be familiar.
या
जो chakras वगैरह होते हैं, ये वो उसके साइड पे आया, but I always dismissed it as completely psychological phenomenon. Psychology होगी, makes me feel better, even though there was evidence to the contrary at times, कि ये कैसे हो गया, ये premonition जो थी मुझे ये कैसे आई, मगर always used to rationalize it. नहीं नहीं ये
हाँ
वो
जी। तो
सारा कुछ।
व्हाट मेड यू कम बैक, वो पॉइंट बताइए,
हम्म,
व्हिच में। हाँ बोलिए।
यार it was in 2020. मैं वो spirituality में dabble कर रहा था काफी, क्वेश्चंस के बारे में सोच रहा था, बट द सेटिंग ऑफ इट वाज हमेशा यार, like, I think humility is really important, but when you're a kid, you're usually not the most humble. तो पर मुझे बड़ा था कि जब मैं एथियस्ट था, मैं बड़ा इंटेलिजेंट, ये वो सारा कुछ बड़ा बड़ा रैशनल, बड़ा साइंटिफिक, एंड आई मीन दिस humbly. I am quite smart in understanding certain things, not so smart in understanding other things. तो उसमें मुझे था साइंस, साइंस तो जी निगेट नहीं आप कर सकते, साइंस तो जी क्या चीज है कि प्रोग्रेस, ये वो सारों को देख रहा हूँ। तो मेरे जहन में यही था, इफ यू आर इंटेलिजेंट यू विल बी एन एथियस्ट, ठीक है। एक बायस है, ये बायस मेरे ख्याल है आजकल के न्यू एथियस्ट मूवमेंट में भी है।
ना ना ना
तो
ना, एक्चुअली ये बायस ना, एक्चुअली रिलीजियस पीपल खड़े खड़े करके रख चुके हैं,
हम्म
क्योंकि द रीजन आई से दैट इज,
हम्म
जब भी लॉजिकली रिफ्यूट करने का टाइम आता है, राइट, व्हेनेवर
हम्म
द एथियस्ट ट्राई टू रिफ्यूट विद लॉजिक, रिलीजियस पीपल का इमीडिएट क्लैप बैक जो होता है ना, क्लैप बैक
हम्म
होता है, हाँ तू बहुत बहुत बड़ा इंटेलिजेंट है यार, तुमको सब कुछ आता है, हमें कुछ नहीं आता है, क्या बात है। सो दे
मे बी
स्टार्टेड
राइट, मे बी
अटैचिंग,
राइट, हाँ।
हाँ, so
हम्म
they started attaching, oh, atheists
हम्म
think themselves to be intelligent. No, 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 no. Atheists don't think themselves to be intelligent. Religious
हम्म
people brand them, saying that they falsely claim
हम्म
they are intelligent. Atheists have never claimed मैं intelligent हूँ.
आ गया,
Atheists को
आ गया।
just logical question का answer चाहिए बस. तो जब भी
हम्म
लॉजिक का आंसर नहीं होता है, तो रिलीजियस पीपल चिल्ला देते हैं कि हाँ तू बड़ी स्मार्ट हो के बहुत बड़ा स्मार्ट हो गया यार तू करके दे
चलो
स्टार्टेड मेकिंग दैट्स द रीजन
okay
इट या
okay you might be completely right about that चलो फिर मैं इसको रिफ्रेश करता हूँ अपना पर्सनली मैं बात कर रहा हूँ मेरे ज़हन में
हाँ
थी ये चीज़ I was 16 17 years old a kid right 17 18 तो उसके बाद I went to university तो वहाँ पे यार they were all schools of thought because it was a well renowned university in the country right
हाँ जी पॉइंट पे आ जाइए
where
जल्दी
अच्छा तो पॉइंट ये है basically okay, I met these really intelligent people who used to believe in, who believed in God and religion and this and that. To me, they were really smart. तो उस पे मैंने डिस्कशन के बाद मुझे कुछ लगा कि भाई साइंस के स्कूल ऑफ थॉट के साथ भी इश्यूज हैं थोड़े ये जो होता है दिस कॉन्सेप्ट के जी सिर्फ मटेरियल दुनिया है सिर्फ ये 3D दुनिया है इसके बाहर कुछ नहीं एग्जिस्ट कर सकता ये सेक्युलर मटेरियलिज्म यू नो अब साइंस में जाना शुरू कर दो थ्योरीज होती हैं थ्योरीज आर मॉडल्स ओके कुछ सालों पहले a few decades ago gravity was a force right नया आइंस्टाइन नया वो दिया theory of relativity no it's the curvature of space time so these things change
no no
right
no no
so
no let me explain actually they don't
yeah
change they have better explanation for what is observed जो दिखाई देता है ना right
so
science
the
always
models
begins
change
with an हाँ so science no model doesn't change model improves let me explain please so science में anything that calls itself science starts with an observation right it has to start with an observation there cannot be anything that mind में जो भी आया वैसा हो सकता है it has to have an observable component where it starts and how and what questions answer करना चाहता है science right ऊपर से कुछ गिरा right I'm talking about thousands of years ago सब कुछ गिरते रहता है यार so fruits तो you know all the time they keep falling down right and people took that as a given मतलब ये ऐसा ही होता है जो ऊपर फेंका जाता है वो नीचे गिर जाता है ना so वो उनका नॉर्म था and they didn't question why का क्वेश्चन नहीं आया क्यों की नीचे गिरता है right how कैसे गिरता है नीचे क्या what are the things बर्ड तो ऊपर यू नो विंग्स फ्लैप करके निकल जाता है पत्थर तो नीचे गिर रहा है ऊपर ऊपर once you throw a bird a live bird into the air it tries to fly away जब पत्थर फेंकते हैं तो वो नीचे गिर जाता है क्यों ऐसा थोड़े you know some people have thought about it and when Newton started thinking that yeah so what I'm trying to say is there is always a visual or an observable component then एक एक्सप्लेनेशन खड़ा किया जाता है जैसा न्यूटन ने एक्सप्लेनेशन खड़ा किया है ना नाउ न्यूटन्स एक्सप्लेनेशन वर्क्स इन द यूनिवर्स दैट वी फाइंड इन at that point in time अर्थ से बाहर कुछ देखने का कुछ है ही नहीं मतलब उतना you can't observe a lot you don't have complex equipment है ना वो माइक्रोस्कोपिक वर्ल्ड में भी नहीं जा सकते so what you can observe Newton's laws work perfectly fine.
Satya, as long as we can acknowledge कि जो ये जो आप observable की बात कर रहे हो, it's a school of empirical thinking, empiricism. What you can sense from your 5 senses, आप उस चीज को follow करते हो. As long as you can acknowledge that the system is not perfect. एक और भी point of disagreement है मेरे आपके साथ. It's not a major thing. But we can discuss that in a second. As long as you can acknowledge that it's not a perfect system to say things as fact when historically
there is
they've
nothing
always
called
been
perfect.
improving.
There is never anything called perfect.
Okay, as long as we can acknowledge, yeah.
Yeah, perfection का कोई चीज है ही नहीं. There is nothing called perfect. Only thing is, if you say that 1 + 1 = 2, which is a non-empirical science, by the way, right? Mathematics is perfect by the sense that it cannot go wrong because it is we have created it. So anything empirical science जो भी observable है, it needs a physical component, observable component, not only observable component. Now any observation and there is the other side, right, which is philosophy, the concepts that you hold in your mind, है ना? So now
metaphysics, philosophy, yeah.
हाँ concepts that you hold in your mind इनके लिए ना इनके लिए आपको ऑब्जर्वेबल फिनोमेनन कुछ नहीं होता था, एटलीस्ट व्हेन ओरिजिनली द philosophical thinking was beginning, right? Now neuroscientists try to pin certain things, like जब आप बहुत खुश हो जाते हो, which parts of your brain light up करके they try to measure. Okay, they try to put some physical things around it, but I still acknowledge that a lot of progress need to be made. We don't know.
Bilkul.
Right?
As long as we can agree on that.
Yeah, that's always there.
As long as we can agree on that. Achha, so
Satya, now I still want to find out
go ahead.
What brought you back to religion.
Sure. Achha, before I proceed with that, एक small point of मेरा disagreement है आपके साथ, वो है कि things improve नहीं, पूरे models in science rehaul हो जाते हैं completely. For example, जो Newtonian model था classical physics का, if you can use the equations to get a rocket to the moon or to get a rocket to probe to Mars, you can use those equations, yes. But that model does not hold anymore because the theory of relativity replaced it. ये बहुत small disagreement है, मेरा ख्याल overall debate पे ये चीज affect नहीं करेगी.
No, the reason it is different. The reason it's different is the new observations gave a much better way of understanding reality. Science का the strength of science is this. The strength of science is change. आप ऐसा बता रहे हो कि as if it is a bad thing. It's not bad thing. It is the strength of science. The reason it is strength of science, क्योंकि अगर वैसा ही होता 1600s में bloodletting used to be a technique to remove diseases. Bloodletting पता है ना, खून को बहाया जाता है. आपको slightly आर्म में कहीं या पैर में कहीं कट करके आपका खून बहाया जाता है.
हाँ जी.
Okay, they thought that bad humors, right? Humors का spelling भी अलग होता है ना. वो bad humors आपके body fluids में कुछ गलत है तो उसको बहा देना चाहिए. तो 1600s में ऐसा होता था. But slowly when the people started getting more and more intelligent, more and more this thing, वो बकवास चीज है, it actually endangers the person करके bloodletting को बंद कर दिया गया. तो ये change नहीं है. This is an improvement. Science change होना ही है and it has to change and it's an improvement.
Satya, I didn't mean that it's a bad thing. I just meant कि वो चीज constantly improve हो सकती है. अब वो constantly improve हो रही होती है, change हो रही होती है, models बदल रहे होते हैं. बिल्कुल मतलब replace हो रहे हैं वो. Anyway, coming to the question कि what brought me to God. अच्छा, तो इसमें काफी वो एक चीज आ जाती है कि हाँ, तो when I started questioning to me which stands कि the limits of science, जो हमने भी थोड़ी सी बात डिस्कस की है, scientific कुछ axioms हैं जो कि which are assumptions science is based on which it can't prove, right? तो वो आप सोचते हो यार कि अच्छा assumptions हैं,
एक example बता.
example ये है, एक philosophical example है कि to us is very obvious that there is a world outside of us, that you are a separate conscious entity named Satya, I am Ahmed, right? However, you can scientifically you cannot prove this thing कि आपके दिमाग के बाहर कोई चीज एग्जिस्ट करती है. Philosophically, scientifically, this is
कैसे प्रूव नहीं कर सकते? कैसे प्रूव नहीं कर सकते? Observation is proof. Do you know that? Observation is evidence. पहली बात है sciences में proof, the word proof is thrown
as defined by science,
proof नहीं होता सर. Proof होता नहीं है. Empirical sciences में proof होता नहीं है. It's all evidence.
सत्य, आप जो आप बात कर रहे हो,
नहीं, आप सोच रहे हो कि no, आप सोच रहे हो कि बाहर एक वर्ल्ड है. ओके, मैं एक अल्टरनेटिव एक्सप्लेनेशन देता हूँ. आप मैट्रिक्स मूवी देखे हो?
हाँ, बिल्कुल, मेरी फेवरेट मूवी है यार.
हाँ, तो how do you know that you're not just a program in a elaborate system? You don't, right? You don't. So then now you have two different explanations. Okay, so but evidence क्या कहता है? Which one has more evidence for? बाहर एक वर्ल्ड है या फिर एक प्रोग्रामर ने बिठा के स्विच ऑन कर दिया है? Which one has more evidence?
जब ऑब्जर्वेशन की बात कर रहे हो, that is the axiom, right? उसके beyond आपने that is the axiom कि हाँ मैं ऑब्जर्व कर रहा हूँ, ये चीज है, आप नहीं प्रूव कर सकते that there exists anything outside of your head. This is an axiom in science. It's an established fact.
No, that's called solipsism. That's called solipsism. That's all solipsism. Solipsism means that I can only be sure of what is happening inside my head. I have no proof that anything outside exists. That's called hard solipsism. Anyway, आप बताइए, I want to know why have you come back?
Anyway, I do reiterate, okay, a simple Google search will tell you science is based on axioms. Anyway, so मैं spirituality में था, मैं meditation में था, तो in 2020, and I had a lot of questions, theology, ये वो सारा. So in 2020, not going into too much details, I had some transcendental experiences, right?
Okay.
उसमें मैं भी खुदा पे, अल्लाह, भगवान, Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever you want to call God, उस पे भी आऊँगा इससे. Had some transcendental experience, and it was like, for me, existence and the universe, it started to make sense. कि एक मेरे ज़हन में एक चीज़ आना शुरू हो गई कि हाँ यार.
Okay, so let me summarize. There are some experiences that you have which rendered you to believe that there is a God.
That there is a conscious, aware God, not just a creator. Yes, a source.
Now you have added two more things. One is, आप creator God को मानते हो? Somebody has created this whole thing.
I believe that there is a source of all of this. There is a source, and it's a conscious, aware source.
Okay, how do you know that whatever is there is conscious?
Okay, so here is the point of contention कि जब atheists कहते हैं, and atheists say, prove to me there is a God.
No. I'm not even asking for proof. I'm just trying to understand how you have traveled. मतलब आपका जर्नी सोच रहा हूँ. मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ यार, आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ. आपको, you have given me three specific properties of the खुदा that you have mentioned. Okay, एक है creator, एक है conscious, एक है third वाला क्या है यार, aware. I'm not sure what you said. Let's say there are two things. Okay, एक creator है, एक all conscious and all knowing.
Right.
Creator के बारे में आप भी नहीं बोल सकते हो क्योंकि you have not seen, you don't have any direct evidence or proof.
No, तो इसी पे मैं बात करने लगा था अभी. Anyway, go on.
हाँ, let's talk about your claim about this entity being conscious. आपको कैसे पता that it is conscious?
Okay, so when you were talking about claim, उसी पे मैं पहले आ रहा था. I'll just go there in a second. थोड़ी सी मैं बात करना चाह रहा हूँ कि when you ask for the evidence of God, for me, it's a moot point because God, source, creator, whatever you want to call it, it's beyond, it transcends logic and the material. Do you know what I mean?
Then there is no point. Then there is no point, Ahmedji. See, एक बात सुनिए. When you can decide, see, exact same experience, whatever you experience, if I give to someone else, right, and they give a different explanation of what you are giving, what does that make? See, the God, what you think, may be true for you, but here we are not talking about things that are only true for you, right? मतलब आपके सर के अंदर जो है, whatever you see in your mind, अगर वही truth करके अगर if you want to organize your life, it makes no sense to anybody else.
Okay. Let me.
आपके दिमाग में you are fully convinced at this point that there is something outside, whatever, not outside. There is something which is what you can call as a creator God and a conscious being.
Yep.
And you have zero evidence of any kind except
can I finish my original point? If that's okay. Okay, thank you. So basically, my point is, when you're talking about scientific evidence, in my opinion, in my humble opinion,
not even scientific evidence, sir. Any kind of evidence.
Evidence. No, evidence. When you say about evidence, you want a material, observable evidence, right? मेरे लिए ये है कि why I believe in these things, because of my own spiritual experience. It was very much in line with what hundreds of people were saying online, and some people I met, some people I talked to.
You know what it's called?
Buddhist practices, Hindu practices, Muslim practices, they started making sense to me.
You know what it's called? It's called groupthink. It's called groupthink.
I mean, that can go either way. That can go on the atheist perspective.
No, it can't. No, I'll tell you. No, I'll tell you why it's not. Okay, if everybody who has the same exact experience describe the God in exact same way, then there is a shred of evidence. But here you have, with due respect, you have muddled the water saying that God can be anybody. Allah हो सकता है, Yahweh हो सकता है, खुदा हो सकता है, मतलब any type of
I
God
mean, those are just names.
is
Those
God.
are just names, right? Those are just names, in
The
my
word
opinion.
God carries some baggage along with it. Okay, you need to.
Depends on how you define. Depends on how you define it.
Okay,
But okay, go on.
let's make this a short interview then. This
Okay.
particular God that you claim to have, or at least be convinced of, does
Mhm.
that God need praying? Does that God
That
demand
God,
for a prayer?
that God will need praying in the sense that the prayer is not for God; it's for you. It's for your own spiritual nourishment.
Okay.
Yes. By the way, I
Okay.
was expecting more to be a logical. Um, I've
No, no,
had a logical,
no,
rational discussion about this. This is stance with different, but anyway, yeah, we can discuss the more
एक,
transcendental spiritual side of it. Yep.
no, no,
Go ahead.
एक बेस खड़ा करते हैं ना.
Hmm.
So okay, so what you're saying is praying is need. Does the God demand prayer? मतलब आप चूज कर सकते हो कि you don't have to pray.
Hmm.
Can you choose not to pray?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. You have free will. You can absolutely choose not to pray. I
Okay.
do think there are spiritual consequences for it, but it's up to you.
Okay. So if it's having consequences, then it is a mafia boss analogy. If the
I
God
think
can punish you
I
for
think
with
that's a jump.
consequences,
I think
no,
that's a
no.
jump. But if it's God, and can God punish you? Absolutely, I would say God can punish you.
So now
Absolutely.
you have added one more property to the God. Okay. First he was a creator, then he was conscious, and now he can punish you for the things that you do or not do, right? So now God has a punishing mentality also. Okay,
No,
now
it's not.
does
It's not a punishment. It's like he's the source of good and evil. So he has a good side and he has a not so good side. Let's
so
put it
now
like that.
now the God has yet another dimension, that
Hmm.
he has both good and evil. Who decides good and
Absolutely.
evil? God decides.
I would say yes. The creator decides good and evil and
Can he
creation. Yeah.
can he decide what is good for you is evil for someone else?
Can he
मतलब आपके
decide
लिए
what's good for me?
मतलब हाँ
Hmm.
मतलब आपके लिए जो अच्छा है
Hmm.
वो किसी और के लिए बुरा हो सकता है.
आप मुझे एग्जांपल दे सकते हो? उधर मुझे एग्जैक्टली ये समझ नहीं आ रही, आप क्या क्या बात कर रहे
ओके
हो? आप मुझे
आप
एग्जांपल दे सकते हो?
ओके हाँ आपको भूख लगी है, आपको आपके पास पैसे नहीं है, कोई आपको हेल्प नहीं कर रहा है, बट यू हैव टू ईट. आपने
हम्म।
छोटी सी चोरी कर ली है, ओके, खाने के
हम्म।
लिए.
हम्म।
ओके, आपके लिए वो जरूरी था.
हम्म।
ओके, बट शॉपकीपर हैज अ स्मॉल लॉस.
हम्म।
सो ये काम अच्छा हुआ या बुरा हुआ?
So you're asking whether God can decide this? That's what you're
या
asking.
व्हाट वुड
I would
गॉड
say
से?
I would
व्हाट वुड
say
योर
yes.
गॉड से?
I don't know. I don't know what God would say, but I would say that if it's circumstantial,
नो
that
सर
would
जी
be
आप
factored into account.
so no
Absolutely.
आप you have given this God couple of properties, including that he has both good and evil, and he can decide what is good, what is evil.
Absolutely.
तो
Absolutely.
अभी
Yeah.
बताइए, मैंने एक सिचुएशन बताया है आपको.
Hmm.
आई एम गिविंग यू अ वेरी लाइट वेट सिचुएशन, राइट? एक बड़ा सिचुएशन भी हो
Hmm.
सकता है.
Hmm.
एक one king can decide that I have to annex the other kingdom, whatever the human cost.
Hmm.
Okay, and the current kingdom, kingdom X, is being ruled by a tyrant.
Hmm.
Kingdom Y is a peaceful country. पीसफुल कंट्री सोचा है, वाई सोचा है कि एक्स वाले लोग बहुत ही हॉरिबल लाइफ है उनका, सो जाके
Hmm.
उसको लिबरेट करते हैं.
Hmm.
मीनवाइल 1000 लोग 10,000 लोग मर गए हैं.
Hmm.
Is this situation a good situation or a bad situation? Can the God decide?
A God can decide. If you ask me what God would think or say, obviously I can't give you the answer. But yeah,
नहीं.
absolutely, absolutely. A God can decide. Absolutely.
हाँ, तो आपको पता नहीं होगा जो भी काम आप कर रहे हो, whether say you might be the king of kingdom X or kingdom Y,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yep.
now you have given this God an ability that he can decide what is right or wrong, but you don't know what is the rules.
Rules वो फिर religion से आते हैं, scripture से आते हैं, you know, you just
So
वो आपके खुद
so,
spiritual experiences से
so
आते हैं.
finally you came down saying that it's a religious God.
No,
आप
I did
spiritual
not say
God,
that. I did not. You're assuming that. I
okay,
did not say that. I
okay,
did
sorry,
not say that at all.
okay,
I did
sorry,
not
let
say
me
that.
back up.
That's okay.
Okay,
No need to apologize.
so
All good. Yep.
so let me back up. So
Sure.
this conscious being knows what is good and bad, but he doesn't give you the any indication what is good, what is bad.
Okay. So let me put it this way. I do believe there are ways to know
Mhm.
through spirituality, but in case you do not have those ways, God has other ways to tell you, which might include some scriptures. So in that sense, a religious
Scriptures
God
are written.
can be that God.
Scriptures are written by humans, right?
They are put down by humans. However, I believe that many scriptures have transcendental origins, so they don't come from humans. And
How
by the way, Satya, you'll be interested to know. I hope this quote is correct. You'll be interested to know. Nikola Tesla, who I consider to be probably the smartest human in history, more smarter than Einstein. Actually, there's a quote by him. You just might be interested. He said something like, and I hope this quote is verifiable. Correct me if it's true. Correct me if it's not. He said something like, in the universe there is a core, and where you draw your inspiration and your strengths and ideas from, something like that. And he said, I do not know the mysteries of this core, but I know it exists. Even a really rational scientific mind like Nikola Tesla
yeah,
acknowledged that you
I'm
can get these ideas, this inspiration, this strength from outside of you. Just letting you know, this was a very
I
smart
know.
genius
I
guy.
know. There are a lot of things. I'm not a big fan of
Okay.
appeals to authority, so that
Hmm.
doesn't make anything true or false, right?
Sure. Just
It
letting you
has,
know, just an interesting
yeah,
point.
yeah, it has zero weight for me. For sorry to say that. Anyway, let's
No
go back.
worries, no worries. Mm.
Let's go back. So this God cannot tell you, and you say that some scriptures are all scriptures inspired by this God,
And
or
so
are there are
you're asking about my personal beliefs here.
no,
So
no,
I would
generally,
say,
let's not put you in a
hmm,
spot. I'm just asking you. You believe
hmm,
are transcendental, and you just 10 minutes ago you said that the same experiences are shared by
hmm,
mystical of Hindus and mystical Muslims and
hmm,
Buddhists and
absolutely right.
whatnot,
You got that
right?
right.
So everybody
Yes,
shares it. So this God must
yes.
be affecting everybody the same way. But there are so many different
No,
scriptures.
I disagree with your last statement that he is affecting
Okay,
everybody the same way. I disagree with
okay,
that.
but you said they describe the same things as you experience. They're not the same, is it?
No, so again, so I need to be very mindful of the fact that we are not in the logical rational domain right now. We're in the spiritual domain right now, which is a bit more abstract. Okay, very respectfully, I'm only saying it.
I'm not working in
Yeah.
domains, sir. I'm just asking you what is your
No.
opinion because
So yeah,
I'm trying to learn
I
this.
yep, I had to say that in order to give you something that is more abstract.
Okay,
In
then
my
what is
personal, yep, in my
ah,
personal opinion, spiritual experience can be very
different?
they can be muddled by your own subconscious. You can get the wrong message, you can get different messages based on your own life, your own culture, your own society, which by the way would explain the differences in different scriptures, because they were for a
Excellent.
different time, different people, etc.
Excellent point. Now my question
Thank you.
is, how
Mhm,
would you know if something is written down saying that it is
mhm.
from God? How would you know that it is directly from God or it is muddled by the writer's thinking?
Sir, that's a brilliant question. My answer to that, sir, is that you have to make
Believe?
an effort and really, no, I
So
would
you're
not.
trying to
For
Ahmedji,
me, no,
Ahmedji,
please
you're
let me
trying to
finish.
avoid
Please.
1 second. You're trying
Okay,
to
okay.
avoid the word
Yeah,
faith. Okay, you're trying to avoid the
i
word
was
faith.
i was going to say faith. I was going to use the word
Okay.
faith. Just right now, I would say I personally was not the kind of person to have blind faith, when you say question
No, there is
everything, that was me, but
no excellent. My
hmm,
point is
hmm,
there is nothing called blind faith and intelligent faith. Faith, the meaning of faith itself, the definition of faith is you have uh, you have made yourself a reason and there is no supporting evidence. Because if there was supporting evidence, you would give that supporting evidence and say, this is why it is. If you
Because
say
I've
that,
told you that God transcends materialism and empiricism and evidence, which is
no,
defined
but
by science, which is
no,
defined
no, but
by
see,
observable
you're
phenomenon.
putting,
And I have a very brilliant counterexample to that as well, as to why
but
you cannot trust your senses completely as well. We can have that discussion too, but let's just finish this
oh,
one first. Yeah,
we know
go
that
ahead.
already. We know that senses are not trustworthy. That's why we try to make instruments as much precise as possible to make sure our own biases don't affect. Okay, that's why we have
Absolutely.
instruments,
So,
right?
Satya, using your
Now,
logic. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
so a minute back you were saying that this God is, I don't know if I should use the word supernatural, right? It does not
No,
transcendental. You've
I would
used
agree. I would agree
okay,
with supernatural. I would agree with transcendental.
okay.
Yes.
Now, transcendental and supernatural, that's how you described your God. But
Yes.
you're saying that this God interacts with reality. How did that happen? If he's interacting with reality, I should be able to measure somehow.
Right.
Reality being,
I
reality
can only
being,
give you. Hmm.
no, I'll give you the example. Reality
Yeah, yeah,
being
sure. Go ahead.
inspiring somebody to write scriptures. That's a meddling with
Yeah,
reality,
yeah.
right? He's putting his fingers in
Absolutely.
reality. Now,
100%.
so it means that this God interacts with reality.
With a conscious human being.
Yeah, and by your own admission, people can be misguided thinking that and adding their own
Absolutely.
things,
That
right?
that is what I believe. Yes, that is my
Okay,
spiritual belief. Yes.
now the point is, how would we know what is right and what is just made up by these people?
Right. So for that, for that, I personally spent years figuring this out. For that, you
I'll
just
help
have to
you.
search, and
No, let me.
like this
No,
is
let me
something.
help
This
you.
is something. Okay, Satya, please
I'll,
let me answer the question. And sure, okay, this is something that you can know in your heart, that you can know inside, deep inside your soul. These are truths that come from deep within. You want to call it
yeah.
faith, but it's
No, no,
definitely
that's
not
not faith.
grounded in scientific evidence.
No, it is scientific evidence. It is an evolution. It is your own innate morality. I was going to help you with this exact same thing. Glad that you brought it up. Morality comes
Sure.
from within. Morality comes from within. You don't need God for that. Everything else is explained by science. The only thing that religion or spirituality tends to cling is that morality and your general consciousness, these things come from God. No, they come from your own heart. Even if somebody writes to you, right? I understand that you have read Quran at least sometime in your past and couple
With,
of
with,
other
with,
scriptures too.
with translation, no, not all of them, but
Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
some parts, yes, absolutely.
So even the oldest translation, so they've been believed by believers
Hmm.
for at least centuries, right? Everything is a
Hmm.
translation. Nobody knows the original Arabic, at least one who is alive now. Nobody knows the real ones, and maybe a handful in the world, maybe 1,000, ten
Hmm.
thousand people probably
Hmm.
know how to read the original works,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Everybody else is dependent on the translations. But nobody
yeah, yeah.
stops and asks that whether these are written by humans who want to win over the other people, and
Oh,
they have
I
just,
would actually agree with this. Religion can be used
yeah,
as a tool for social control. I agree with that,
yeah. So
100%.
now, so now my point is, how would anybody know when you have appealed straight away that in your deep in your heart, you know what is right, what is wrong,
People
right?
can know, yes, I
Yeah, yeah.
I
People
believe
can
that.
know.
Or you can
Then
be
there,
inspired as well, or you can get signs from God. It
my
can
point,
be
my
a
point is
mixture of them.
everything. My point is all of this is happening inside your own head. We are
Satya,
attributing things.
no, 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 mate. Then by extension, everything is happening inside of your own head.
Yeah, that is true.
So
If you take the hard solipsist stance, everything that you see, maybe your eyes are deceiving you. Then what? Then how do we progress? How do we even move forward? When everything what you see, what you sense, and all your senses are unreliable, how would you progress? How would you even
no,
go about
no,
your day?
that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying how how you get around this is acknowledging that your senses can be deceiving. Of course, you have to trust your senses. You have to trust other faculties as well. You have to trust your intuition. You have to trust your thoughts. Thoughts, by the way, you don't measure them. They're just inside
See,
of you. They're just conscious. If
see,
you
as
Satya, okay, no, I have to say this. Going by your logic, if let's say hypothetical scenario, we shifted 500 years into the past. Okay,
Mhm.
we've shifted five, and I come to you saying, for whatever reason, um, that I've had this experience. I believe that there are these invisible waves that could be
Mhm.
generated by some sort of mechanism or whatever. I'm
Mhm.
referring to radio waves. I'm referring to
I
electromagnetic waves. I'm
yeah,
referring to
I would
light spectrum waves. No, let me finish,
I would
please.
call you crazy. Yeah, I would call you
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
500 years back. Yeah, I would definitely call you
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for making that point. Okay, but
I
let
know,
me
I
let
know.
me just
I,
yeah, let, let,
yeah,
let let me
complete,
let me just
complete,
finish.
please.
Okay, so electromagnetic, stuff that we cannot detect. Okay, so if you would have called me crazy, you would be wrong. If you had accepted me on blind faith, you would have been right, but I don't think that was the optimum thing. The optimum thing to do, in my opinion, is say that is a possibility. We don't know yet. Science is limited. If we didn't even have proper science 500 years ago, but 200 years ago, science is
Yeah, let
limited.
me.
We might make discoveries in the future that might prove that you are right. So
Okay.
those are these limitations in science that we might make discoveries 1,000 years later,
Yeah, let me
where
give you an answer.
yeah,
Yeah, I
sure,
got
go
your
for it.
point. I got your point. Let
Yep,
me give you an
yep,
explanation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, if somebody, you said that you came to me, the year is 1600, right? Year is
Yep.
1600. You came to me and said, there are some invisible waves that nobody can see. They are all around us. They are just moving here and there. You don't know, right?
Mhm.
You're talking about ultraviolet and infrared rays, right? Forget
Or
radio waves.
radio
Radio
waves,
waves,
radios, whatever. Yep.
yeah, anything that you can't see or perceive by human senses.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
would call you crazy at that point in time. In the year 1600, I would call you crazy, and you are saying
Yeah,
now that I would be wrong. How would you know
yeah.
I would be wrong? Now you know. See, now you know that you can measure them. Now you know, if you are coming from 1600, you would be correct to call anybody who's claiming that as crazy. The reason is, I'll
I
tell you the reason is,
absolutely 100% disagree with that.
no, no,
100%
no,
disagree with
no,
that.
no.
Very respectfully, but
Let
but
me,
but go on.
no, no.
Go
Let me
ahead.
complete.
Yep.
Yeah, let me
Sure.
complete.
Sure.
Anytime you would say that there is a possibility, you are giving a 50-50 chance for it, which is wrong.
I, I mean, not necessarily a 50-50
No,
chance.
so
Not
see,
necessarily a 50-50 chance.
somebody says,
Hmm.
the same thing can be applied to all religious, these things, miracles also. It could happen, it could have happened, it could happen. So the list of things that could happen are near infinite, right? Now, if you start thinking that anything can be true in future, it would be foolish of me to throw it out right now. You cannot function in your life. Now tell me, I'll give you an opposite example. What if
Sure.
there are two different gods and they are fighting? One of the god X is created this universe and he
Hmm.
wants you to live in a certain way, right?
Hmm.
The god X is defeated by god Y and he will come and judge you saying that you've been living wrong all through the life. That is a possibility, right? How can you throw it out? If you're just asking about possibilities, that is a possibility. When you
Hmm.
can give me one God, I can give you another God. I can give you five
Hmm.
more gods. I can give you a million gods. See, when you start thinking in possible outcomes, oh, this could be possible. If
Hmm.
he was criticized back in the day, but now we know it is true. Now we know it
Hmm.
is true because somebody has found evidence for it. Until evidence is found, believing it
Sajid,
that as it
I,
is
I
true.
I know I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
No, no, no.
But
Let
can
me
you
complete. There is one
can
more.
you yeah,
There's,
go ahead.
there's one more
Go ahead.
sentence I want to say.
Sure.
See, if somebody has brought you a proposal, any proposal, for example,
Hmm.
will you give equal status, true and false, at the same time?
No, but you're assuming a 50-50 probability, 50-50%
I'm not.
probability.
I'm not.
No,
Let
for
me ask. Let me
yeah,
come to you with a proposal. If you give me
sure.
1 crore rupees right now, by tomorrow evening, I'm going to give you 2 crore rupees. Am I saying true or false?
I would want more information, but this is about money. But like I
No,
would want more
excellent.
information on it. I
That
would
is correct.
want more
That is
information.
correct.
Yep.
You would need more evidence that I can really do what I can. It is even possible and it is legal. You would need
True.
evidence
True.
for it.
True.
Until then, I might be somebody illegal or somebody pulling a prank on you.
100%. I agree with that.
But I am really a crazy billionaire and I want to test people and I'm really doing this. If you give me 1 crore rupees today, tomorrow I'm definitely going to give you 2 crore rupees. Then you calling me a crook or a prankster is bad thing, right?
It's bad thing. Yep.
Yeah, with the same logic. Just because
No.
somebody has given to you a possibility that yeah, there is possibility of God, and your own example,
No.
somebody
What's the same logic over here? Because you said calling somebody a crook and this, like, it would be wrong. So
yeah, it would be.
how does that make? Yep.
But if there are other people who have definitely received the same offer and did get the 2 crore rupees, then you will feel that I missed out on the boat.
Sure,
Right?
but that's the
You
benefit of hindsight. I know that. That's the benefit of hindsight.
thank you for bringing the word hindsight. That's exactly what
Yeah,
you're
no,
saying.
no, that's okay.
Hindsight
But
is what
but I
hindsight
do
is what you're
disagree.
saying. In the year
I
1600,
no
if you
no
came
no
to
no.
me, in the year
Yeah,
1600, if you came to me saying that there are invisible rays,
I
I would be
disagree.
correct in call you, a loony because you did
No,
not provide
absolutely
any
not.
evidence. You just made a claim.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. So when the billionaire comes to you, I completely disagree with your dissection of this logic. When the billionaire comes to you, and he was right in saying he will give you 2 crore rupees, you would be wrong in calling him a crook, regardless, because you should be withholding judgment. You'll be like, maybe he's wrong, maybe he's right. Let's say I put
Thank
a
you. You
20%
can answer,
20%. No, no, please let me
Ahmed.
finish. Yep.
Ahmed, you
Please.
answered your own question, which is correct.
No,
Which is
I have
correct.
not.
No,
I have not.
withholding
Let
the
me finish.
judgment. No, withholding the judgment is actually a correct thing. Withholding the judgment means
Yep.
that you are neither convinced true or not true, but you don't live your life as if it's true, which is what you are doing. Right now, you
I
have
agree with
zero
that.
evidence to. No, right now
I
you're
agree with
having zero evidence
Satya. I
that
haven't finished my point. I have not finished my point.
yes,
Very
sir.
respectfully, I'll let you finish yours. I'll let you finish yours. If you would please let me finish
Yeah,
mine. So as long as we can agree that in 1600, when we were there, you would be correct. You would be wrong in calling me crazy. You would be correct in withholding judgment and say maybe we can't know in our lifetime, but keep that as a possibility. Keep that as a possibility. I had a
mhm.
debate with
No,
an atheist
keeping
who,
that as a
yep,
possibility is good. One second, keeping that as
yeah,
possibility is good. Withholding
that's what I'm
judgment is
saying.
the right.
That's what I'm
Withholding judgment
if
is the right move. No, keeping the possibility is actually a dangerous thing. Let me explain why. I need to explain this.
sure.
See, withholding judgment means I don't know whether it's true. I don't know whether it's false. So I will live my life as if I have not heard the matter at all because I don't know whether it is true or not. I don't know whether it is good or bad, whether it is going to
That's you,
benefit me or
Satya.
not. I've been given
That's
zero
you.
information. No, I've been
That
given
is
zero information, but somebody is saying
that
there are invisible things. Now if that fellow who has provided the theory that there are some things, if he or his descendants or his followers come with evidence and then start making things that are useful for the society, then I say yep, you are right.
Satya, your decision to live life as if you'd never heard it is your decision. Me, I would keep open the possibilities, like I keep open the possibilities for everything. Maybe there are
No,
parallel universes. Maybe that, like, it's a possibility.
see,
Does
as
it
long
affect
as
me? No,
Ahmedji,
but it's a
as,
possible. Yep, yeah.
as long as the idea lives in your head, you and I have no disagreement there. Why are we even having this discussion? As long as you keep the possibility in your mind and living your life as if you have a God on your side, I have no problem. The only problem is when you start acting out in the real world as if it is true without demonstrating its truth. That is the only contention here. As long as it is a spiritual or it's a completely personal inside your head, you can believe that everybody has the same experience. I don't have that experience, and a million others or billion others don't have experience. But if
But
you
millions
want
and
to,
billions do, right?
yeah,
They're
yeah,
they're
yeah,
also, yeah.
yeah, that it doesn't count. If it is completely personal, it doesn't count. My
Well,
experience, my
your
pleasures are mine. My
well your
hardships
your
and
own
my pains are
experience.
mine.
But then the atheist experience where they said God doesn't exist, by that same logic doesn't count either.
No, what they say
That
is
doesn't count
that
either.
God of your religions don't exist. And about the creator or the theoretical God that you propose, we have zero information on it. So I don't even know whether to call it false or true. But the religious gods that the religions have provided, those are 100% wrong and they don't exist. And it gets into the religious debate. What you're trying is that there is a spiritual nature of this being.
Absolutely.
You're not giving
Yep.
you're not giving me any evidence. You say that it's not possible to give you physical evidence.
But I have maintained that empirical evidence for God is it's a moot point, since God by definition transcends logic, rationality, empiricism.
Then I'm not
science.
interested in that being, right?
That was
Then
one of my first things. That was one of the
I
first things
know.
that I said.
I understand. Then that type of God has zero interest for me, because I have only you have the information. Let's put it maybe another billion. I'm just putting you in because you came here. Only you have the information.
Yeah.
I have zero information about whether this is true or not. And you're not even giving me any method to find out. You're saying you have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah,
Well,
I would say meditation and spirituality. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
and there are
me,
people who have,
for me,
and
it
there
took
are
16 years actually. Yeah.
Yeah, there are people who did that and didn't find it. So I think, that's again, it's a subjective thing. You experience yourself.
You're not going to like this, but I'm just going to quote a verse from the Bible where it says, "Seek and ye shall find me."
Yeah,
I genuinely believe, with all due respect, if you seek God with all
that is
your heart,
Yahweh, and
you find him. You find him.
no, that's Yahweh, and is as wrong as any other religious god. So there is no point.
I
Anyway,
respectfully disagree, but sure.
let's agree to disagree, and we'll move forward. Right, Ahmed?
Sure.
Thanks a lot for the conversation, man.
Thank you, Satya.
We'll meet you again. Yeah. Bye.
Take care. Thank you so much. Take care.